Good morning once more, or evening or afternoon. Welcome once more to the coaching skills module. In this session, we will be looking at rapport building skills. In topic 1, we looked at introducing you to coaching, what it is, what is not, and gave you an outline of what are some of the coaching skills that we will cover in this program. So today we're looking at rapport building skills, which is part of the first phase of coaching, which is creating a conducive environment for coaching. So how is rapport building defined? In the coaching space, rapport building is regarded as building relationships to establish a personal bond with a client by creating a safe, supportive environment characterized by a trusted partnership, mutual respect, and freedom of expression. Achieving this creates an open and safe environment for conducive learning. And in this context, it will ensure that the coaching conversations that you're going to engage with your client run very smoothly because there will be a trusting relationship that will have been built between you and the client. Looking at it really, rapport building is the ability to enter someone's world, to make them feel that you understand them, that you have a strong common bond with them, that you get them, that you are with them. It is the ability to see and respect the other person's point of view or frame of reference or model of the world. That is understanding how they perceive the world, understanding the way they think, understanding their beliefs, their values. It does not necessarily mean that when we do that, we actually agree with them. It just means I understand where you're coming from. I may not necessarily agree, but I do understand. So rapport building is actually considered as one of the most important features or characteristics of unconscious human interaction. What does this mean? It means ordinarily we do this automatically. And there is a science behind that there has been research over the years that has tried to understand how this occurs. There are elements in our brains called mirror neurons, and these are, as explained in the slide here, mirror neuron is a neuron that fires both when an animal acts and when the animal observes the same action performed by another person. So this means that we have some neurons in our brains that when we see something in another person doing something, that mirror neuron actually mirrors that behavior that is observing, unconsciously so. So we're not even aware that this is happening. These studies were done initially in animals, and in the late 90s and the 2000s, it was found that the human beings actually have the same mirror neurons that do the same things, that the same behavior in animals. And this is what then accounts for empathy in human beings. It accounts for us understanding and feeling the pain that someone is going through without having to have clarity of exactly what the person is going through. So those mirror neurons pick up on that behavior, they pick up on emotions, and automatically we tend to behave in that way. And this is also regarded as explaining rapport that often happens automatically in human behavior. So if you look at that slide, the pictures there show postures and behaviors that all of human beings, we automatically do. So if you look at that picture of Obama and Ramaphosa, you can imagine that they had a conversation to say, oh, I'm going to cross my legs and you're also going to cross your leg, or I'm going to do this, you're going to do this. But that is an automatic behavior that happened without them even noticing. And that already engages them in a way in which they can converse and they can feel free to have a conversation. You can look at that couple there. I don't think they planned. Automatically, one did it and the other person followed. So it happens automatically to us as human beings. But the crucial point about rapport building when it comes to executive coaching or coaching in the workplace is that because we know it works, because we know that it breaks the barriers between us as human beings, we then want to deliberately do these things so that we can create that conducive environment. It is said that rapport building is a foundation of all excellent communication because it makes up more than half of the communication. If you look at that slide there, we can build rapport with words, we can build it with our tone of voice, we can build it with physiology, which is the gestures and our body posture. Only 7% of it is accounted for by words. And this is the things that we say to somebody to make them feel better or agree with them or praise them. 38% of that comes from the tonality of our voice. So which means how I say something, if I'm kicking, even in the work environment, if you think about it, if somebody is always kicking and screaming and shouting, they're not going to build so much rapport. But if the tone of their voice is different, it's accommodating, it's calm, they are more likely to build rapport and get along with people. But look at that 55% is physiology. And this is the unconscious, subconscious things that we do. So in coaching, we take this very seriously because we often work with people we've never met before. So complete strangers, maybe acquaintances in some cases, but largely it's complete strangers. So we need to use the physiological part and deliberately learn how to build rapport so that we can instantly have engage in rapport with the other person, because that is required, is a foundation for building a conducive environment. So what are some of the prerequisites for building rapport? The first thing is that we need to be fully present to another person. What does that mean? Being fully present means I am here fully mind, soul, and body. I am not distracted. I am showing to the person that they are important. I accept and respect the other person's point of view. I've already alluded to that. It does not necessarily mean that I agree with them in everything. But also I need to be aware, sensory. I need to be aware what's going around with the person, physiology, their facial expressions, their body language, their gestures. I also need to be flexible in the way I respond to that person. So being fully present, it means I'm completely aware. I'm aware of what's going around with the person, not just what they are saying, but what is actually going on with their body. So deliberately, I can then match or mirror or paste them in whatever they're doing in order to create that bond that I'm going to need, especially in that first coaching session that is crucial for building the rapport. So I can deliberately do it with somebody that I don't know. So if we look at verbal pacing and matching, we're looking at tracking words or phrases. So how will you know that you are tracking the words? You could, of course, repeat the words that they're saying, repeat the phrases that they're saying. Sometimes clients use metaphors in their speech. You would also repeat those metaphors and not use your own metaphors, because when you're repeating it, they're kind of like, wow, okay, this person is really hearing what I'm saying. Oh, this person is actually paying attention. This person thinks what I'm saying is important because they can actually repeat what I've just said. We can also do what we call conceptual pacing, which is pacing of beliefs and values. So it's picking up on the beliefs and the values and the assumptions of that person and actually feeding them back to them. It doesn't also mean that we agree with them or believe what they believe, but it's just acknowledging that we hear what they're saying, we acknowledge what they're saying, we feel what they're feeling, we are with them. And that obviously leads us to acknowledging, and acknowledging is really recognition of what the person is going through, affirming them or validating them, identifying if they've been successful in something and raising it, awareness of that, appreciating something that they have done well, reinforcing. So these are all verbal ways of building rapport in terms of repeating, acknowledging, and phrasing back. In other words, we're mirroring back the words that they're uttering or the behaviors that they're showing or something that they may not be aware of. So if somebody has done is uttering something in their conversation and they may be downplaying it, and you could mirror it back to them and say, wow, that's congratulations for having done that. That will then make them aware that is something to be appreciative of. And that automatically helps to build rapport. So the bulk of the rapport building, as we said, is the physiology. The physiological matching, whilst under normal circumstances, as I said, occurs automatically, in coaching we deliberately build rapport using physiology. So we will match head and shoulders. If you look at the picture or the right hand, top right corner, where the shoulders are matched, the hands are matched, the feet are matched, like the whole posture is matched. So you can match the person that way. We can match facial expressions. We can match gestures and postures. If you look at the bottom center picture there, the one guy could easily sit back and listen to the other person, but he's actually leaning forward. If he was to sit back, that could break rapport in a normal conversation, in a coaching conversation. So if somebody is speaking that way, you would then lean forward to make sure that you hear them, and you will then be building rapport. We also match the energy of the person, and sometimes in terms of adjusting to their breathing patterns. We also match vocal qualities. I've alluded to this earlier: the speech, the tonality, the tempo, the volume, so that people feel that we are with them. Sometimes in a coaching conversation, matching tonality and the voice and the tempo could require that we break the pattern. For example, if somebody starts screaming and shouting and angry in a coaching conversation, this is not necessarily the behavior you want to promote. You might scream back and shout back just to make them aware, because sometimes they are not aware that they're actually in that state. And by you portraying, projecting that, it actually shows them that, oh yeah, okay, that might not be the correct way to actually continue this conversation. And they may just break it without you telling them, shut up, for example. We can match the whole body, we can match partially. And any of these gestures will actually help in building rapport. So I like to think about rapport building really as a dance. So you're actually dancing with the client, you're going where they're going, you're pacing with them, you're following their energy. You follow it up to a point where it is really resourceful and useful for the conversation to occur. But as I said, if the conversation or the energy begins to go in the negative direction, it begins to be negative or maybe emotional outbursts, for example, that is something where you want to manage. You would want to lead the person in a different direction, but in a way that it's not going to break the rapport. So it's a dance. A rapport building is a dance. Think about it as a dance. The other component of rapport building is eye contact. This is very common. The quality of your eye contact is essential to building rapport. The question is, what message do your eyes give? Do they match the rest of your body language and your words? Because eyes can show if you are interested or bored. They can show you if you are listening or you are actually not listening. They can show whether you are questioning the person or you're supporting them or you're judging them. They can show if you're inviting them. They can show if you're genuine. They can actually show a lot of things. And therefore, it's very crucial that we use eye contact as a way of engaging the client and building rapport in the correct way. I often have this question in most training when we talk about eye contact, especially from my fellow Africans. They often say, oh yeah, no, but in eye contact is culture specific. Yes, it is culture specific in certain contexts. And in any culture, there would be a culturally appropriate way of establishing eye contact. And in a professional context, there is also an appropriate way of establishing eye contact. And you would adopt whatever works for you in that context. The last part of rapport building, which is some other factors that I have not covered earlier that are specifically applicable to coaching that also contribute to building rapport. The first one is appropriate physical coaching environment. So where are you coaching? Are you sitting in a table, on a chair with a table, with the client on the other side, or how are you actually sitting? So that is absolutely crucial. Appropriate physical environment is very important. Is it on a sofa? But you need to sit in a situation where you will be able to build rapport physiologically easily, so that you are not breaking the rapport. Confidentiality and ethical behavior is crucial. Very much at the first session of your coaching, you need to talk about confidentiality of the conversations that you're going to have, and that you subscribe to a particular ethical code of conduct. depending on which professional association that you subscribe to, whether it's the Comensa in South Africa or the International Coaching Federation or the many other professional bodies that are available. Not being judgmental is crucial. Flexibility to adapt to the needs of the client, especially in context where in the organizations there might be other factors that impact the client that you would need to adjust to. Commitment and consent for the need of the client is very important. The client needs to see that you are committed and you are concerned about their needs. It is not about just billing the hours. It is not just clocking the coaching log sheet. It is about them. It is about their growth and development. And attentive listening, which is a topic that we will be addressing in the next block, in block 2. So these are some of the rapport building skills that you can learn. We will definitely do this in practice in the session tomorrow, and I'm hoping that I will see you all. But before then, there's an exercise that I would like you to start doing between now and when we meet. So there's actually a number of exercises that you can do, but you can choose one, or if you do more, that's great, to learn how to build rapport consciously. So when you go shopping next time, when you approach the counter or you're going to pay, do something to create instant rapport with the cashier. So it could be a smile, it could be a greeting, it could be a chat, whatever. Find something that you can do at the counter so that you build rapport with the cashier in that few minutes. Or if you're watching TV, you're watching news or a movie, be sensory aware, notice how people are building rapport and take notes. Notice how people are moving. Notice how people sit. Notice the gestures. And just make notes of what you are observing there. The other thing you can do is really to train yourself to observe different facets of nonverbal communication in various settings, the physiological matching and pacing, as you go along every day, to begin to notice that so that you can be aware. So awareness is the first foundation of learning. And when you are aware, then you can begin to consciously do it yourself when you're approaching strangers. So you can literally approach any stranger and build rapport. So I hope this has been useful. And of course, the practical exercises that we're going to be doing tomorrow will really help us to get into depth about rapport building. Until then, thank you very much. Ciao. Hoping to see you tomorrow. Thank you.